Yo, what's up, and welcome to episode 206 of Throwback Hoops. My name is Rob Clayton, and I'm joined by a very happy man this morning. It's a big good morning, and congratulations to Woody V.
Oh, thank you, Robbie, man. It's great to be here, and yeah, what a great advertisement for Australian basketball, you know, having all these great crowds in the finals, and you couldn't ask for a better Game 5. You just got to say, though, real quickly before we kick off things, to one of the Sydney Kings fans in the fourth quarter, he had a major heart attack, right? And he got taken away. And from all the Kings fan base, all of us, you know, it was a great day out, but, you know, just thoughts go out to him and hope he's doing okay, yeah?
No, absolutely. Well said. Look, we've got a lot to unpack today. I was probably going for Adelaide, but I'm really pleased.
Probably?
I know it would have been. Yeah, well, definitely. But I'm really pleased for you. So that kind of equals it out there. But wanted to say before we get into it, before we do the jerseys and everything, apologies, I guess. Woods is probably the best way to say it. We've been off for quite a while. It's been a little bit unscheduled. Woody had some health issues, I think, the first week after the last episode. I was away last week. And then we kind of thought, look, there's no point doing an episode between Games 4 and Game 5. We'd wait for Game 5. And we've got up early on, you know, Monday the 6th of April on the public holiday to do this. Firstly, is your health okay? I know you posted a picture on X, you're in hospital there. Are you all good?
Yeah, feeling a lot better now, man. Back to 100% now. Nice. Actually, I was speaking to Matt McQuaid this morning, and he's like, great to see you in good health again, Woods. But you and Robbie, you got to get back to Throwback Hoops. I haven't seen an episode come out in a while. So I told him, bro, don't stress. We're recording in 30 minutes, man. And I can't wait to chop it up with you after some time, brother. Yeah.
100%. Well, before we get into it, just a reminder to please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Let's start it off as always. I knew you'd obviously be rocking the King stuff, but what do you got today for us?
Well, if you look behind me, can you see that?
I can see that, yeah.
Two legends of the game, Steve Carfino, Mario Donaldson, who have represented the Kings in the past. So I thought for some of the legends that are not playing anymore for the Kings, it was a great moment for them. So just a bit of a shout out to some of our alumni there. And
then like some props.
Look, man, what can I say about this guy, right? And the reason I want to talk about this man is because he went through a tumultuous year last year. Let's be real. He had some personal struggles and problems. Yeah. And he's come out of that better than you could have ever imagined, right? The kind of example he set this year. Forget about his free throw shooting. He does absolutely everything else on a basketball court, you know. And he's that glue guy, and he's a leader. And you know, Kendrick Davis has even come out and said, you know, it was because of Delhi and Cooks. These guys took me under their wing, and really having a guy like Cooks who's actually won championships here before. He's part of the ball club for many years. A guy like Delhi that's won an NBA championship. The first thing they did when they met me is that we didn't even talk basketball. We got to know each other as people, and they told me, we're going to make you a better human being, a better man. Come to Sydney and play with us. And you can see the fruits of that with all three of those guys on the podium. But it starts with Xavier Cooks because, you know, as I said, he's part of the furniture, and I can't see him ever playing for anyone else. Right?
Nah, me too. And look, Woods, you know I'm a big fan of Cooks as well. He's a beast, honestly. He does everything there. Yeah, look, he can nitpick and talk about his free throws, but he's an amazing defender, probably an underrated passer. You know what he's like on the boards and just that hustle and getting up and down the court. There's a reason why he's played in the NBA and played for the Boomers and that. So he was a three-time champ up last night. Is Bruce the only other one that's the three-time champ from this current team?
Yeah, I think Kawhi Noy would have won 2. Yeah. Tim Suarez would have won 2. Yeah, I think you're right.
Those guys, pretty fair. And Bruce didn't get on, did he? I think he
47 seconds at the very end in garbage time.
Oh, he did get on then. Okay, Well,
that might be it for him. That might be it for Bruce.
Yeah, I was wondering that as well. What a way to go out. I mean, amazing scoreline given that it went to overtime, but we'll go through all that later. I'm going to do something different. Thanks to that, Woods. I'm going to start with my card of the week because we didn't check what we're doing, and my card of the week is who you're wearing a jersey of. So
sick.
I've got a 2025 Topps NBL autograph card. I thought I'd just rock this. I'll show this guy's card today. So really nice looking Xavier Cooks card there. So yeah, just to show that I'm not the biggest Kings hater that maybe people think I am. I'm a big fan of Xavier Cooks.
That's for sure. You always have been.
Last night, 100%. So nice looking card there. Pretty funny you wearing the jersey and wearing that one.
What a good final series he had though, man. Across 5 games,
consistent, wasn't he?
So good, right?
Yeah. For sure. All right, and I'll stand up and show you the jersey I'm rocking today. It's a fairly new one. Loving this jersey. Very pleased to show this one today.
I know what he's wearing. Robbie's wearing the black Atlanta Hawks number 7 Nickeil Alexander Walker, a.k.a. Noor jersey. So awesome, man.
Lucky I didn't have to pay per letter on the back of that. And I was worried with that, Woods, because when I ordered it, I've seen some of these jerseys that the NBA store do, and they essentially with the long names, they shrink the font and just have it at the top. And I'm like, I do not want that. I want it like on his jersey where it curls round like in a frowny face like that. This is exactly how it was, and yeah, really pleased when this. I had a pretty big jersey order that came through last week, and this is the one that's my absolute favourite out of all of them. So, look. Probably I won't go on about Noah too much, Woods, but I just wanted to talk about his stats this year since coming over from the Wolves. So he's averaging 20.6 points, 3.5 boards, 3.7 assists, 1.8 stocks, and his shooting splits are 45, 40, and 90. So amazing season. We've mentioned it a few times on the show. We were high on the signing. He was a good signing. None of us, and even the biggest diehard Hawks fans like ourselves, knew he'd be this good. My question to you, Woods, has he got the most improved in the bag, or is this going to be one of those, another years where someone like Wemby gets it, or something, some superstar that's taken another level? He's doubled his scoring average.
I know you're going to talk about it later in the show, but like someone like Denny Avdia, has he qualified, played 65 games? He could be someone that could be in the mix for that award as well, but he's right up there.
Yeah. Well, that seems to be like the kind of guy they like to give it to, right?
Yeah.
We always think it's these guys. We know we don't like giving it to second-year guys, even third-year guys. Noah's a bit of a vet now. He's his third team. I don't know. I heard Windhorse saying on the Hoop Collective to give it to Jalen Duren. Now, Jalen Duren's improved his scoring and his rebounding by less than 1. So just because the team's had success, I don't think that's an MIP there. To me, this is a definition. It's a bit of a veteran guy that's come over. He's doubled his scoring average. He's efficient. He's about to break the all-time record for three-pointers made in a season for the Hawks. I don't know if you saw that stat. So Bogey leads it. I think he's maybe 3 off Bogey now with 5 games left or something like that. So he's going to shatter that record there. I mean, he's good for probably 3 threes a game. So just been so fun to watch. Seems like a really good guy. We know these Canadians are good guys. Woods, they always tend to fit in well with these teams. But the team seems to love him. He's just fit in so well. He does it down both ends. I mean, Dyson's the one that I think the offensive player on the other team, they're always looking for Dyson. And then Noah would just come up. As I said, 1.8 stocks, combined steals and blocks is really impressive as well. So he does it at both ends. He's, really impressive shooter. And someone, fast becoming one of my, absolute favourites on this Hawks team. So, loving this jersey. Don't think there's a lot of these going around, like the rare ones. You can only get this as a custom jersey, this one. So
I'll tell you what, if the NBL store's listening, they send me a Swaka Low jersey without even Bullock on it. Least you can do is get the name on there, man, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I have all my jerseys in alphabetical order, Woods. I'm a sicko like that. So, of course, Alexander Walker straight to the front of the queue, this one.
Sick.
So, nice. All right. Well, plenty to talk about. It's been a few weeks since we've been on. And, in fact, the last episode, I think we were previewing the NBL Finals, weren't we? That's how long ago it seemed like we were on there, Woods. So, we had the 2 teams decided, I think. I think that's what the case was. So, what we're going to do, we thought we'd go through all 5 games, right? So, we're going to spend a little bit of time and just sort of recap it. Maybe for those people out there that missed a game or 2 or sort of just, aren't really remembering what happened in those games there. So we'll go back to game 1, way back on the 21st of March there, Wood. So you weren't able to attend this one live. I know you had something on that night, which is probably a frustrating thing for you there. But look, this is probably the one game that was the most surprising, I would have thought, in the finals. So Sydney just destroyed the 36ers, 112 to 68 points. It was a finals winning margin record. Davis had 25. Suarez, who was impressive throughout, 22 and 8. Galloway, great series there, 15. And then for the 36ers, Cotton, Rakocevic, and Humphries all had 10. So they didn't have anyone with more than 10 points in this game. Look, give me some thoughts on that. I know you weren't at it live. You obviously watched it there. What happened in this game?
I mean, everything just went right for the Kings, right? And we'll get into it as we speak about the other games. But after this first game, you thought this is going to be a sweep potentially, right? Because it was such a gulf between the two sides after that first game. But I think what we talked about going into this series was Rakocevic and Humphries. That's an area where Adelaide could really take advantage of the front court depth that the Sydney Kings have, right? But what Tim Suarez did was he signaled his intent in that first game. 22 points, I think you mentioned it was, 8 boards. I think he had a few blocks as well, critical blocks at right times. So, I don't know if he had blocks. Yeah, no, he didn't have any blocks, but he had 22 and 8. 8 from 10 from the field, stretching the floor. So he straight away came in and said, look, I'm a champion. I've won with the Kings before. I've been here before. I'm not afraid of the bright lights. And I was really impressed with the way he came out in that first game, along with everyone else, the guys you mentioned, but Suarez specifically, really impressed.
Is it possible, Woods, that you were a little bit of a Suarez hater back in the day and you weren't that thrilled on him rejoining the Kings?
Yeah, honestly, and I was talking to, shout out to Jimmy Boyd, I was talking to him yesterday, and we basically talked about how he's expanded his offensive game a lot since his previous visit here, right? He's backing people down, he can score off both shoulders, he's got post moves, and he still has those intangibles, stretching the floor, sets great screens, great rebounder, and very, very coachable, man. It sticks within the system. So very, very impressed with that.
Some timely three-pointers in the series, didn't he?
Yeah.
I want to touch on one thing you said. You mentioned Humphries and Rakocevic there. Do you think they're a little bit too similar players, and maybe that's the reason why Adelaide aren't able to play both together? Is there a bit of an issue there, do you think?
Like, Kings go small in general, right? They've basically got one legitimate center on that lineup, right? So, and when he comes out and Kouatnoy plays center or Cooks plays center or whatever, so I think putting Rakocevic at the 4 and Humphries at the 5 against the Kings is difficult, right? It really depends on the lineups. You've got Rakocevic is coming back next year, so let's see how they manage all that, right? So
for sure. All right, we'll go to game 2 now. So look, I should say both of these games in Adelaide, just amazing games, weren't they? They were the really sort of close games there. So game 2, you're right, Woods. People were talking sweeps, and is this going to be a quick series? I did hear a few sort of experts come out and say, no, look, honestly, you can just forget this first game. It doesn't matter. They come back on their home court. And that's exactly what happened. Adelaide bounced back to win an absolute thriller, 91-89. So Bryce Cotton in this game, 28 points. Flynn Cameron was a handy second fiddle with 17. John Jenkins was 14, and this is kind of the start of Jenkins getting going in this series. Davis had 20 points, but he was 6 of 25, so it wasn't the best shooting game from him. For your Kings, Cooks had a double-double, 18 and 10. Torrey Craig also had a double-double, 17 and 10. And this is, of course, the game that maybe wasn't a great look for Kendrick Davis at the end of the game when he ran over and bizarrely got in Bryce Cotton's face. I still don't know exactly what was going on that. And I think that probably made all the neutral fans switch on to the 36ers with who they wanted to win after the Davis there. What were your thoughts on this game, Woods? Obviously, this is a very entertaining one there, but how did you see this one?
Well, Kendrick Davis is a very emotional player, emotional person, right? And going into that Adelaide crowd that was giving it to him, there was signs up in the stands, and he was getting booed every time he touched the ball, and he got into that me versus them mentality, right? And he went away from what's made him so successful over the course of this season. What was he? What did he say? 6 from 25 from the field. I think it's the worst shooting percentage in finals history for someone who's taken 20 field goal attempts or more ever, right? Wow. But having said all of that, we were up 14 or 16, a little drop down pass to Xavier Cooks to put in a double-handed dunk, and he missed the dunk, right? That would have put us up by 16 or 18 with a few minutes left in the third quarter. Momentum was just going our way, but just after that missed dunk, something just shifted, right? I felt the series shifted after that missed dunk. That was a really telling point in the series. And then Kendrick tried to do it all himself after that, and
it was from looking for his teammates. Talk to me about that last play, Woods. How great Bryce Cotton was. Like, he basically ran down. You sort of talk about it in your
I think the degree of difficulty. So for people who didn't see, everyone who's listening to this has seen it, right? He gets the offensive rebound. Kendrick tries to force it, right, and he leaves time on the shot clock, right, for Bryce to get another shot up. 4 seconds on the clock. He's off to the races, and he finishes with his left hand, looking at the clock when 0.3 seconds left, just releasing it off the tip of his fingers in the nick of time. He's going at a head of steam, right? To be able to release the ball and have that soft touch and finish like that, is the degree of difficulty can't be understated. And I'll take you back to a play earlier in the game when Bryce Cotton got a steal. He was going all the way to the rack, and he tried to finish it on the right-hand side, and Torrey Craig blocked his shot. He saw Torrey Craig coming for him, so what he did this time was he used the ring as the shield, and he went around the left-hand side and finished with his left. It was absolutely brilliant, man, and I don't care what anyone says. This is probably going to be forgotten about. When we look back on this series, we think about this Game 5, 20,000, but that was just incredible, man. One of the greatest finishes in NBL history, because you normally finish with a 3-point shot or a fadeaway. Very rarely do you finish with a fast break layup on the buzzer or
It
dunk
was
on the
strange,
buzzer,
yeah.
right?
And Sydney chased him down too, right? I forget who the two
Tory
others
Craig.
were.
Yeah.
And someone else was in the vicinity as well, I think. So that was amazing. Look, you probably say, geez, it's a shame he didn't quite get that luck around the rim on that last shot at the end of regulation in Game 5. But we're not
I'm
at
cool
Game
with
5
that.
yet. Yeah. All right, so Game 3, Woods, this is the first one you attended live in the series.
Yep.
This was another one. Look, I didn't think this was the best of games there. Sydney continued their winning run at home. It was a 106-93 win. Davis really bounced back. 24 points, 15 assists, which is massively stand out to me, the 15 assists. Cook's great again, 18, 8 and 5. Galloway, just ever consistent, 17. He's doing those lines you talk about in Fantasy Woods where he's getting points and not doing a whole lot else, but that's all he needs to do on this team. And for Adelaide, they were led by John Jenkins. I mentioned he got going in that game too there. He was huge in this game, 22 points. Zylan Sheatham really impressive as well, 16, 12 and 5. And Cotton almost had like a Kendrick Davis game too, didn't he, in this one? He was 15 points, but he was only 5 of 15.
12 dimes as well, yeah.
Yeah, he did get some good assists there. But what were your thoughts on this one?
Well,
through?
John Jenkins, we were saying in the previous series, like he didn't have much of a role to play, but come the finals, we're going to see him. He's going to have some sort of role. And over those last few games, we saw it. He got hot. I was really, really worried in that first half. But we stuck with the program. I think that home court advantage makes a huge difference. You play all year for that. That 18,000 home crowd at Kudos Bank Arena made a big difference, right? Yeah. But yeah, I think you mentioned Galloway, right? Just being consistent throughout this series, knocks down open shots, plays great defense. I mean, I think we grinded it out, but we knew there's going to be a series now. Like, this is like back and forth. That 44 game was in the rearview mirror. The next two games are very competitive. So yeah.
Hey, 3 years ago, what would we say the only knock in Jalen Galloway's game was?
Not a great shooter.
Exactly. Like, what has gone on with this guy? Like, he killed it with playing for the Boomers in those, those Asian Cup games. I think they were. He killed it in the NBL One East. I was, lucky enough to see it firsthand with him playing for Bankstown last year. But he's turned into an amazing shooter now. It's just crazy how he's improved.
He can put the ball on the floor as well occasionally and get to the rack. He plays great defense on wing players. Yeah. You talk about, I joke around about DeAndre Hunter's infinity line, right? But he's not that different a type of player to DeAndre Hunter, a guy that can knock down his shots, rebounds, slightly bigger guy. Yeah. If you want to go to the NBA, it's not about being Kendrick Davis or Bryce Cotton. You've got to fulfill a role effectively. And I think Galloway, he can knock down threes. He can be an NBA glue guy, like a Josh Green type, you know? I think the NBA is
he
better.
He could be more NBA ready than Kendrick Davis is, which some viewers might be like, what's he talking about? But it's legit, right? Yeah, you're right.
Totally
it's about doing that role. 3-and-D, we know it's a big thing in the NBA these days. He's got great size. He's athletic. So, really sort of impressed to see, the evolution of Jalen Galloway and how he's improved there. And just a shout out to Zylan Sheatham as well, Woods. We mentioned him briefly. He was really consistent throughout the series. A great offensive rebounder. He would have been pretty good to see in that Game 3 live, right? Yeah.
He's awesome. And he's just one of my favorite players in the NBL because he's just a jack of all trades. Looks like a great teammate. I think it'll be good for the NBL to keep Zylan Sheatham around in some capacity, whether he's at Adelaide or somewhere else. Because
his value might have gone up after having such a good year in a good final series. But all right, we go to Game 4. So I watched this one, and I was away last week. Woods, I was lucky to head north from and live and have a few nights away. Watch this in the hotel room, which was pretty cool. And man, what a game this was. Another instant classic in Adelaide. So the 36ers won at 92-91 with Tory Craig, of course, missing that late free throw that would have sent it into overtime. Who we just mentioned, Zylan Sheatham was the absolute star in this game. He had 23, 8 and 9. So that's huge. 9 assists. He was close to a triple-double. Bryce Cotton was pretty big in this game. And DJ, this is probably DJ's one, pretty disappointing final series, I've got to say. But he was good in this game. 19 points. He got going at home there. What were your thoughts on this one? It looked like it was going to overtime, didn't it? When Tory Craig got fouled, made the first free throw, I said to my daughter, first free throw is always the hardest one, in that situation. I thought he was going to step up and knock it. And then he nearly got the offensive rebound at the end. Imagine he'd put that in and they won there. But, what were your thoughts on this this Game 4 classic?
Once again, let's start off with that 44-point game. That first game, the Kings won by 44. You wouldn't have ever thought this series would be one of the greatest 5-game series in NBL history on the back of that first game. But every game after that has been an absolute, a nail biter, right? And look, once again, the Kings were up by 10 plus points, man. Had a chance to put this game away, and in the fourth quarter, let it slide. And as you said, Tory Craig fouled on the buzzer. always easy to hit the first one than the second one, right? He made it count, and he just missed the second one, short armed it, right? Yeah, once again, Zylan Cheatham, man, absolutely incredible. They don't win this game without Cheatham. 23, 8, and 9, you know?
And this is why I maybe sort of was confident with Adelaide going into Game 5, Woods, because we saw that big win by Adelaide there. Cotton had 19. Yeah, he had 12 assists, so he was really distributing well. But 19 points, you know, if you someone said Cotton's going to get 19, you think, oh, maybe they're going to go down in this game. But that gave a lot of hope going into Game 5. But let's go into Game 5. We're going to spend a little bit more time on that. It was yesterday.
Oh, my God.
Again, a real break between games, right? I know, look, there's a lot going on in Sydney. There's the Easter show, which would have been packed out.
Oh, my God, it was hard. Yeah, it was
with that going on. And, you know, Good Friday, I think they're probably a little bit averse to playing a game then. I think Saturday there was a pre-booking at Kudos, so it's been a bit crazy there for them to try and fit that in. But yeah, this was just an incredible game. Probably, you know, I mean, you never will. I don't think I'll forget this one in a hurry. I watched this with my family. I had a bit of an Easter do last night, and we all sat down and watched this. I mentioned to you before we started recording, we were cheering on Adelaide, probably more for the Bryce Cotton factor more than anything. But look, Sydney won in overtime. Pretty crazy score in there, 113 to 101. So a 12-point win in overtime is pretty random. Look, some big contributions here from guys. So Kendrick Davis, 35 and 14, just an incredible Game 5 closeout game. Suarez, 20 Woods, just putting those, you know, those big timely baskets in. Cooks with another double-double, 19 and 12. Galloway with another, what did you call it, DeAndre Hunter line. He had 16. And then for Adelaide, look, Bryce Cotton started off just amazing, didn't he? Ended up with 35 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists. He was a little bit more cold in the second half of the game. The first half, he put the team on his back there. Cheatham, huge again, 15, 12, and 6. Humphreys was close to a double-double. Rakocevic, I thought, was huge. Even though he fouled out, he had 11 points, 13 boards. He controlled the boards. Probably the one, I'm not going to talk all the negative stuff, but DJ Vasiljevic was, 7 points on 2 of 14 shooting, and I think 1 of 11 three-pointers. So just brutal shooting there by DJ. But, Kendrick Davis, finals MVP. You were there, Woods, along with 20 other thousand people or whatever it was. Talk to me about this Game 5.
Incredible, man. As I said, such a great advertisement for the sport. I mean, Adelaide had the whole game pretty much, right? You know, with 90 seconds left, Bryce Cotton hit an and 1-3 to put Adelaide up by 6.
Hey, was that a foul? There's been a bit of controversy about that one.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But the thing is, we had no timeouts left, right?
Yeah.
You know, and so we couldn't actually do anything at that point. So you just had to live with it. I actually went to Brad Rosen as soon as that 3 was sitting. I'm like, man, we're done. And he still had faith. He's like, no, man, we got this. We got this. He was right. And then, look, down by 2, 25 seconds left. Kendrick Davis takes a pretty little advice through. I'm not going to be harsh on him because he had a great game. And who was there to get the offensive rebound putback? Who was there?
Yeah, it was Cooks, right?
Timmy Suarez.
Oh, Suarez.
Timmy Suarez, man. Yeah. They're everywhere, man. Yeah. So I think that was lucky because the ball just fell our way. And, we deserved an offensive rebound. We couldn't get one for the last 2 games to save our life, right? Because you're sending doubles to Bryce every time, right? So when the shot goes up, there's one less rebounder there. You know, the ball falls to someone on the Adelaide team. So it was more a strategy. We'd rather send 2 to Bryce, limit him, even if it means if we lose on the offensive glass a little bit. So to get one falling. That
double team was, just sorry to interrupt you, I think that was pretty crucial, right? We saw the Kings, basically Cotton was sort of controlling it. He knew that double team was coming pretty much from the start of the second half there. He made some good passes, but I think it was a good idea for him
definitely
to take the ball out of his hands. We saw Jenkins hit a few shots, but what it meant, there was a lot of, open shots for DJ, who, as I said, just didn't get going. And for Adelaide, there were some weird shots at the end of that game, wasn't there? Rakocevic took a 3. Look, he's not the worst shooter. We've seen him hit some shots, probably not what you wanted late in the game. And then we saw Cheatham drive in and kind of do that little runner shot that, let's face it, that probably would have sealed the game if he got that one there. And I think it was back rim and went out there. He did a great job getting second chances on offense, right, with those offensive boards.
Oh, yeah.
I think that double team in general was important, and it wasn't an instant double team. They waited till, they'd have a defender, guarding him up high. As soon as he went to go into that move, they'd just automatically send someone over and basically make Cotton make the pass there, which was, pretty good tactic there by Gorgon. But look, then we went to overtime, Woods. What was the feeling like in the stadium there? Because like you said, it looked like the Kings were gone. We were all watching at home. We thought Adelaide had got this. It went to overtime. It was 0-0 again, right? What was the sort of feeling in the stadium when it went into overtime?
I think people
in foul trouble too, right?
Yeah, big part of that. So we had 2 guys fouled out, and then Maluach was basically. Yeah. I think Tory Craig and Delhi fouled out actually, didn't they? Yeah, they both did.
And then Flynn Cameron and Rakocevic for Adelaide as well. And was on 4. Yeah.
And so that Flynn Cameron getting fouled out was huge because he was doing the best job he could on Kendrick Davis. He wasn't shooting at the best clip up till then, right? I think he had 24 points. heading into the last bit of the fourth quarter, ended up with 35 on the night, right? So as soon as Flynn Cameron came out of the game, they had to throw DJ Vasiljevic at Kendrick. Obviously, DJ did his best, but Flynn Cameron only had 19 minutes out there without fouling out. So that was a real game changer. And for us, when our guys fouled out, you can bring on like Quach. Quach he got 2 steals in overtime, right?
Yeah.
Doing such a great job, right? So you can call on his number. He'd only played 7 or 8 minutes of the night,
Yeah, it's one of those things. The team seem to shorten their benches in such a big game, right? There was no tomorrow in that game. Kawhi Noy, I'll talk to you a little bit about him in a second there. But yeah, I even asked my mum, I was like, has Maluach even been on? She's like, yeah, I think he came on a tiny bit in the first half, less than a minute or something. But you're right, he came on and made a big difference there. And you've got to stay ready in this game because, Torrey Craig fouling out. Torrey Craig, I feel like we haven't mentioned his name this whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Put up all the big numbers, but he's been really, really good, right?
Forget about his numbers. Talk about the leadership. This guy has been there, done it all, right? He's even come out and said, I've taken McQuatch and Jalen Galloway under my wing. They stay back with me after training, and I'm working on stuff with them individually, right?
Yeah.
And you've seen those guys grow Imagine Kendrick Davis coming into this locker room and having guys like Xavier Cooks, having a coach like Brian Gorgian, Matthew Dellavedova later in the season, Torrey Craig. And he was saying, Sean Bruce, like even though he doesn't play, Brucey has been such a mentor to me. He texts me every day telling me what I can do better, things he notices on the floor. So I think Torrey Craig's influence has been amazing, right?
It was a great signing, wasn't it? Yeah. Look, Bull Qual went down. Bull Qual was probably playing better this year than a few of us had thought. I think it was a better season than last year, but man, to get Torrey Craig, and it kind of fell into their lap, didn't it? It was just an unusual circumstance where he wasn't able to find an NBA gig, and he was out there. Sydney, we know, has got some good connections with recruiting and stuff like that, so he was huge. One negative part, Kawhi Noy, what happened with him in this series?
The Monstars got him, bro. The Monstars got him. I'll tell you what he did do well, though.
Was it karma, maybe, for him talking so much after the semi-final win?
Yeah, and I mean, we had to get him to play center quite a bit yesterday, right? Because Suarez got into early foul trouble. But he did actually have Kendrick missed a second free throw, and he just got a nice little tip in there to make it a 3-point play. Do you see that? So he did a few good things yesterday.
That was a funny one, wasn't it?
Twice that happened yesterday, by the way. 2 free throws were missed that were tipped in for 2 points. How rare is that to happen, but twice in a game?
Yeah. All right, so tell me, what happened after the game, right? So I'm assuming the whole crowd stayed around for the presentation before the trophy got dropped, and well, not dropped, it just broke, didn't it?
It broke, and all the interviews on the floor, the confetti, all the presentations. Yeah.
Were you there at both of the other 2 championships? One was on the road, wasn't it?
No, both at home. Both at home, bro.
All 3 have been at home. Wow. So you've got to be a part of that. That's something you'll be able to tell everyone in 50 years' time. But yeah, what was that like, sort of being there for the NBA? I'm assuming no one really left the stadium, did they?
No one left the stadium. They opened the bars and stuff if you wanted to get a drink after the game, and then they brought the stage on the floor. Yeah. You had the captain speaking, MVP award, obviously Kendrick Davis. I actually really loved what he said at the end. At the very end of his interview, he said, "It's my time now." Right? And that's a small word to Bryce saying, "Look, I'm here." Because I have a feeling that, as you said, is this going to translate to an NBA contract? It's possible, but it's also possible it doesn't, and he stays here long term, right? Yeah.
Look, I think he deserves a
shot.
They really follow the NBA, the NBL closely from America now, and the NBA scouts are certainly aware of what he's done this season. Maybe the maturity might be something that they're maybe a little bit worried about still, but I think it's not as big an issue if you're coming in to play a role there. But I'm sure he's better than a number of backup sort of guards.
I compare him to Colin Sexton a lot, man.
It's still the size though, Woods, isn't it? Like it's the reason probably why Cotton's been out here. It's the reason why PJC's here. It's just these undersized guards that like I always use the Keaton Wallace example, putting my Hawks hat on there. He's our backup point guard. He would beat up Kendrick Davis, right? He's so much stronger. He's still got the same amount of speed and that. So that's probably the thing. But Kendrick Davis has just got an X factor, doesn't he? So I'd like to see him get a look in there. But look, he'll go down in folklore as a Kings Finals MVP there. And what about that? Were you there when all the players and coaches were coming down that big escalator there at Kudos, or had you already?
No, I'd left by that time.
You already left for the bar at that stage. And you told me before the game, who did you kick on with a little bit after the game? Then? A couple of our favourites, right?
Yeah, Matt McQuaid. I saw Mookie before that. Then I saw, shout out to all the Kings fans. Tommy Perez, Samara. Who else I'm going to talk about? I'm going to talk about the Tuies, Dawn and Matt Tui, man, great friends of mine. Who else is there? There's obviously Matt McQuaid, Mookie, John O'Barber. All those guys, man. Jamie from KO, man. Jimmy Boyd. Shout out to Mr. Boyd, man. All the Kings lifers were there together, and for us to be able to celebrate and enjoy that moment together, it meant a lot to me, man. And yeah, if I missed anyone, I'm sorry, man, but love you guys, right?
Well said. Congratulations. I've got to say, Woods, we started recording about 9:30 on Monday morning. I was a little worried. I've got to say, I thought I was Woody been out on, as I love to call it, a Jonathan Bender last night. But you're as fresh as I've seen you. You're really ready for this podcast. So
and I was so excited to talk about it, man. So I was up early, ready, preparing. So
well,
awesome.
I feel like we haven't chatted a lot the last few weeks. I said you were sick, I was away, so it's not like we've really been having that recap after each game. So that was actually good to go through all those games and give a bit of a recap there. So, well, look, before we put a bow on the NBL season for another year, and of course, in saying that, we'll certainly keep people informed of free agent signings and other things that happen in the off season. But what do we do every year? We do our annual predictions, right? We're not going to sort of let that go forgotten there. So I went through the episode. I think it was episode 182. I think it was. I know my internet was bad, so it was a little bit annoying, frustrating watching and trying to write down who we picked. But we did our annual predictions, so I thought we'd sort of own up to some of those and see how we've gone. Pretty close, I think, from what we've done. There's a few interesting picks which we'll go through, but this is what we do, Woods, right? We don't hide behind our picks. We make them and we come back and recap them. So we'll start off our annual predictions for MVP. I had Xavier Cook, so I was a little bit off there. You had Bryce Cotton, so that's a 1-0 to you there. You had Bryce Cotton. I was probably still a little bit. It was too soon for me at that stage, I think, with the Bryce Cotton news there. So you got that one there.
X was first team, right? From memory?
No, he
second team.
He was. No, he was
first
second
team.
team.
Second team. Yeah. Second team.
So he was there and about sort of thing. But I think probably Kendrick took a lot of votes away from him. All NBL team. So just to recap, the actual team was Cotton, Davis, Sobey, Doolittle, and John Brown III. I had 3 of those, which is pretty good. So I had Cotton, Davis, and Doolittle. The other 2 I had were McVeigh and Cooks. You had 2, so you had Cotton and Davis. You had Cooks and JLA, probably the one that you were pretty far off there, and I know you're a fan of this guy. Terrible season, in my opinion, Milton Doyle. So he was the one. And look, I think we were both pretty high on United, and we were thinking, look, if United do go far, it's going to be from Doyle. It didn't quite happen there. So I guess essentially we're tied at the moment. So the grand final winner, watching back on this, I actually changed this live, right? So during the show, you actually told me that Trez was going to be departing Adelaide. I was initially going to pick the 36ers to win the whole thing. So after the Trez news, I actually picked Sydney to win. So amazing, Woods. I picked Sydney to win the championship. I had them beating United. So I had Sydney beating United there. You had United beating Perth. So, I think we were both obviously pretty wrong with United. We didn't see that season coming, but that was a pretty good late change by me to pick Sydney. I stuck by it all season, didn't I? Yeah, so a slight pat on the back for me with that one.
Shouldn't have broke the news on the live show then.
Yeah, true. I don't like to be right when it turns out with Sydney winning, to be honest. But the semi-finals, I had the Kings beating the 36ers. So I was one sort of series early there. And then I had Perth beating United. You were a bit off on this one, Woods. You had Perth beating the Hawks and you had Melbourne beating Tassie. So just to recap there, Woods, you did not have Adelaide or Sydney to even make the semi-finals. And maybe that was that kind of reverse psychology with Sydney, right? You were saying you weren't that high, and maybe it was reverse psychology. I'm not sure there. Okay, so the top 10. Yeah, I got 2 of these right. You didn't get any of these right in order. So just to recap it in the order.
Sure, I didn't have Adelaide in the top 4?
Not in the actual order. So, we go 1 to 10 there. So the actual order. No, you didn't in this one. So had. So basically the top 10 in order was Sydney, Adelaide, Southeast, Perth, United, Tassie, New Zealand, Hawks. I still can't believe that at 8th, Cairns and Brisbane. So look, just to quickly recap that, we both had United first. This is on the ladder, not for who wins the actual season. I had Sydney second, you had Perth second. I had Perth third, you had Tassie third. So that was probably one. And look, we didn't foresee these injuries that, happening with Tassie there. 4th, I had Adelaide, you had Illawarra. 5th place, I had Illawarra. You had the 36ers, so you had the 36ers finishing 5th there. 6th, I had Tassie. 6th, Woody, Venkat, Sydney. You had Sydney finishing 6th. So, wow. I think you'll take that, right?
Yeah, of course.
So this is probably the one that we maybe both between us got the most wrong. So I must say, Tassie, I got in that right position there. In 7th place, we both had Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. So I think we've both got to probably apologise to them, right? They were so impressive there, and they had a really good year. So shout out to them. We were both pretty low on them, and they totally.
No one expected Sobey to have this kind of year. And I didn't really see JB3 having this kind of impact coming into the league, right? Owen Foxwell really, really taking that next step. Bringing in Ian Clark, getting rid of Hunter Maldonado. The coaching, I should have not doubted the coaching. I should have not doubted the coaching because that's big part of it. Coach King's the man, right?
King had a great coaching season, didn't he? They made some changes as well, and it still worked out. And then we both had Brisbane in 8th place. 9th, I had Cairns, which was right. You had New Zealand there, and I had New Zealand last, and you had Cairns last. So maybe another slight apology to New Zealand. They were a little bit better than we thought, but I think we always said it was pretty hard to pick that bottom 4 there. You know, we both had South East Melbourne. I think we were right with the other ones. So as I said, I had Tassie and Cairns in that one. You were, a little bit out on some of them. So I think I'm slightly ahead. If we're keeping score, that's not what it's really about. The Kings win total. So they ended up with 24 wins in the regular season, Woods. So this is a fact that I found interesting, and I even talked about on that podcast. You had the Kings winning 18. I had the Kings winning 19. Yet I had Sydney finishing 2nd. You had Sydney finishing 6th. I'm still not quite sure your rationale on that one, but
probably got that one wrong.
You maybe did, yeah. And then with Perth wins total there, so they ended up winning 21. You were probably a little bit higher on them than me. You had them winning 24. I had them winning 22. So I was close there, but no one got that. The Next Generation Award, which we called AKA the Samson Froling Award, Woods. We love talking about that. We both had Owen Foxwell for this one. I think he was well, up there, but we didn't really probably realise that Karim Lopez was going to be as good as he was. So Lopez won that one. Sixth man of the year, we talked about at the time, this was quite a tough one. Angus Glover won that. I had Flynn Cameron, so,
But he started most of the year.
He ended up starting, and they did DJ the bench role. Do you remember who you had for sixth man of the year award?
No.
The clue is he didn't finish on the team that he started with that you picked him with, but he did finish with another team.
Hunter Maldonado?
Correct.
Yeah.
So you were right with the Southeast player at the time, but it was Glover that won it. Most improved, this is always a tough one. I had Jalen Galloway. I don't mind that one still. He didn't win it. It was Flynn Cameron that won it, so I got the wrong Flynn Cameron. You were a little bit off on your one. You had the stat man, Cody Statman.
Yeah, I just like looking at preseason. I expected him to really have a role to play, and Ford didn't give it to him. He got injured throughout the year, so
fair call. Yeah. So defensive player of the year was Christian Doolittle. We both picked different guys, but I think we both picked pretty good ones there. So I had JaVale McGee, and you had John Brown III. So look, either one of those two probably could have been up there.
Was Christian Doolittle defensive player of the year or John Brown III? No, I think it was John Brown III, man.
Is that right? Am I trying to dig out a stat? Can you fact check that? Because I looked at something last night. It was a Google AI thing that was telling me that. So look, it's not like the internet to be wrong. So I think you are right.
I am
familiar that he won that. So all right. Well, I need to put you put a bold in that little box I've got there. So I think that almost means we're fairly even with that one now. So yeah, I think you are right with that one.
Yeah, 25-26 Damien Martin trophy. Yep.
All right. My apologies. Maybe it was just me trying to get another Perth in and hoping you wouldn't remember. So good pick up there. And look, JaVale McGee Woods, just very quickly, I still think he was a little bit hard done by with a number of these awards here, right? I don't quite know. Yes, we know that the Hawks didn't play well, but he still put up some big numbers this year, didn't he? So, all right, Coach of the Year. I had John Riley. It wasn't a terrible pick, I guess. You had Dean Vickerman. We didn't know what was going to happen with United. Obviously, your boy Gorge won that. And then the last one, Super Coach. Who was going to finish higher? Of course, we were always going to say each other. It was myself that finished higher. Shout out to Mookie, who won our comp.
Did you beat me?
Yeah, I did, yep. So I think
I was beating you most of the year.
Well, most of the year doesn't count. So Mookie was first, I was second, you were third. So good to see that we represented the top three. But Mookie,
well done, Mookie. Congrats,
really good score there. Well done, Mookie. Good work on that.
Change the comp next year to the proper one, though, please.
Yes, I know. If only they could just put up their hand and say, you know what, guys, we were probably wrong with that one. We are going to change it back. Yep. So, yeah. Look, that's a bit of a bow, as I said, on the NBL season. Woods, really good season again. It's a lot more viewership. Great numbers throughout the final. Some really, really impressive 5-game series. We'll talk about it a little bit later. Maybe there's some reasons why they should make the semi-finals 5 games. I think when you get great series like this one there, but look, we're going to really ramp up the NBA coverage as well now, Woods. I think each team's got about 4 or 5 games left before the finals. So for those that are supporting teams that don't make the finals, you're about to have a very long off-season coming up. You're talking a good 6 months before your team plays. I don't really care about the play-in this year, Woods, because the Atlanta Hawks are not going to be in the play-in this year. So finally we're out of it, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. I'll start actually with that. I'll go a little bit different from the run sheet there. So the Hawks have currently won 17 out of the last 19 games. So just incredible. Everything's sort of come together after those moves they made around the trade deadline. Of course, the Trae Young trade there, and just some other little trades there. Getting Jock Landale and a few different things like they've done that there. It's looking like the Hawks are going to be the 5th or the 6th seed, Woods, which is pretty amazing given where they were, 6 to 8 weeks ago there. I've got them as therefore likely playing New York or Cleveland. Now, one interesting fact on that, I think, as I said, the Hawks have either got 4 or 5 games left. You know that 2 of those games are against Cleveland. So I was sort of thinking, man, if we won both those games and then Cleveland, maybe lost another one there, could we catch them? Probably unlikely, but I think it's probably likely that we are going to stay in fifth. I think Philadelphia's maybe a game and a half behind in sixth, which is a pretty good effort by Philly there. So fifth place would have us playing New York. So fourth. So fourth Cleveland. So no, it's third versus sixth. Fourth versus fifth. So we'd be playing Cleveland. So there's a scenario.
That could change.
It could, but there's a scenario we play Cleveland twice in this last week and then play a 7-game series in the first round. Who would you prefer to play out of those two teams? Give me a couple of reasons why.
I've said it before. Cleveland is a team that's built for the postseason. 7-game series. They've got a lot of bases kind of covered there. New York has been a bit up and down. Even though their record is good, I think I would probably think that's a more favorable matchup in a 7-game series. Yeah.
I would definitely prefer New York. And have you heard of this guy, Dyson Daniels-Woods? He's pretty good, right? I've watched us play all those games against New York this year. He has given Jalen Brunson absolute fits there. He really has.
Yeah, I've watched a few as well.
If Dyson can take out Jalen Brunson, if this series does happen, and then our big guys can kind of match it a little bit with guys like Cat, even Anunoby, who's a big guy that it's sort of playing that 3 or 4 role there.
Yep.
I think we do match up better. Yeah, Cleveland scare me a little bit, right? I mean, James Harden, yes, you don't always get the best out of him in the finals. This might be the year where he finally proves his doubters wrong. Then they've just got that massive front line, right? They've got Mobley, they've got Jared Allen. They've got some firepower there, don't they? So, I'd probably prefer to play New York. But this will be an interesting sort of tune-up in these 2 games there. Is it a little bit of, cat and mouse there where both teams don't sort of, play those usual looks and everything they do there? So, any other thoughts on the Hawks? Woods, how have we won 17 and 19? They're such a fun team to watch at the moment. They're first or second in the league in assists. They run the ball, play a really good style of basketball, I think, under Coach Quinn Snyder.
Yeah, look, after all those acquisitions, we were in a fortunate situation with the next 10-game stretch. So the first 10 games out of that 19 wins were a really favorable schedule against some lesser teams that were basically tanking, right? So what that allowed Coach Snyder to do is to really try different combinations, get these guys gelling well together. And this last stretch of 10 games, we've played far superior teams, right? And we've won games against them, right? And a big part of that was having that little period where they could experiment a little bit, get the new acquisitions comfortable playing with one another. And just peaking at the right time as we're entering into the playoffs. So whoever's playing us in the first round, it's a tough first round matchup, man. Yeah.
I love our depth. I love that we've got some big, strong defensive guards. What's your thoughts been on the professional bucket getter, CJ McCollum? Man, he's been good, hasn't he? He's had some really big moments for us so far.
Man, I love CJ, right? And I was following him at Washington earlier in this year because I owned him in a couple of fantasy comps, and I'm like, dude, I can't wait till once the acquisition was announced, I can't wait. He's just going to fit in like a glove. He just goes about his business.
Against Brooklyn on Saturday, right, where I think someone poked it away, it went into the backcourt. He basically got it, looked at the shot clock, it was about 4. He did that through the legs, pulled up and just hit this huge 3, just ran down the court. His face didn't even change. I was like, man, this guy's a professional.
Yeah.
And he will hopefully have some big moments in the playoffs there because, look, you can't factor in everyone. We know Jalen Johnson and Noor are probably the 2 that you're planning for. But, look, he's someone that could step up and have, multiple 20-point games.
He's trying on defense as well.
Yeah, he is. He's had a couple of... Like, he was going the other day, I think he had 3 steals and 2 blocks.
I saw that.
There, but he put up some surprising numbers there. So, great to see. I think they play New York tomorrow as well. With a couple of tough games coming up. It's an early game tomorrow in New York. But, wanted to quickly ask you as well, this 65-game requirement for awards there, it's been a pretty controversial topic this week, right? We know this rule was brought in 2023, and it was to... I guess it was probably an anti-tanking type rule there and trying to get your stars to play. And, if people are going to games, they want to see these big name players. But it's not looking too great this year. So just to recap, so guys that are already not eligible to win awards, MVPs, etc. there, Anthony Edwards, Giannis Antetokounmpo, by the way, he just needs to break up with Milwaukee Woods. That's getting really messy there now. Steph Curry, Cade Cunningham, and now Luka, who's going to be out, after that hamstring injury he suffered against OKC last week. So they're all ruled out of these awards there. So I feel like you're going to get some random guys popping up in, say, all NBA third teams there. I mean, I think guys like Jalen Duren and Jalen Johnson are probably absolute locks now to make these teams, right? But what's your thoughts? I think there's a few people maybe say, I think the league's already come out and said they're not changing it, but what are your thoughts there? I mean, if someone is... going to miss. Cade Cunningham was a lock for probably first team there. He's going to miss out. It's probably not going to recognise these great seasons these guys have. Have you got any issues?
Yeah, I don't have any issues with it, man. Like, come on, man. Jordan played 82 every time. You get injured, so be it. You're not playing as many games as some other guys that are playing 75 and whatever.
Yeah.
That 65 is there for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if they want to reduce to 60, I would be okay with it, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but like
true.
65 sounds, you can play all but 17 games for the season. I think
all
it's
those
fair.
ones, they're all pretty legit injuries. Like Ant, Curry, Cunningham, and Luke are all legit ones. Giannis is probably the one that's a little bit dicey there. I mean, he wants to play at the moment. Milwaukee to start playing him, so that seems to be a little bit of a tank job there, and trying to look towards next season and that. But yeah, I think you're right. You've got to basically come to that limit. I'm sure that is didn't decide 65 there for no sort of actual reasons. There, you could make it 60, you could make it 62, 65, whatever you want to choose to do. But I think that's the way going forward there. But as I said, it is going to be interesting. You're going to get some strange guys, I think, that make all NBA. I think, look, I mentioned the two Jalen's there. Anyone else that you think could be a crazy one that makes it? Denny Arvey, like you said, we'll have to check. I think he might not be eligible. He's missed a few games. Who's another random one that could make it there? I mean, look, Jalen Brown's a lock to make it.
Someone from Charlotte, man,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, talk about hot teams. They are ridiculous at the moment. It's probably this year, I think, and they win every game by 20 points. I mentioned that the other day. They seem to blow everyone out. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's one of those ones that they've been so consistent there, whether it's LaMelo, Miller, or Con there, that have sort of taken some votes away from each other there. But I don't know. We'll have to watch that with interest because, there's 15 spots there and there's going to be a lot of guys that we mentioned that aren't going to make it there. I thought we'd just wrap up this little section, Woods. A little NCAA wrap. I know we've been both busy out and about doing things, but the two semi-finals did take place yesterday. So UConn beat Illinois 71-62, and the mighty Michigan Wolverines, Woods. Shout out to Blue there, the great Michigan team that I like so much there. They beat Arizona pretty convincingly there, 91-72. That was actually a battle of number one seeds in that game. So now Tuesday our time, so it's an interesting one. There's a few NBA games and it's all about the NCAA tomorrow. So Michigan are playing UConn. I know we'll both try and watch that. Both probably got busy work days, but we'll certainly try our best, even if it's watching the replay tomorrow night. Did you get to see any of the semi-finals?
Yeah, I did watch bits and pieces, man, and highlights, definitely the condensed games. I mean, we had Anthony Wallace on the show a few weeks ago, and I think he recently quoted on X, Woody asked us a true or false, could we have an Australian as a championship winner this year in the NCAA? And so, we were on the verge of a historic double Australian fixture, right, in the championship game. But the incredible journey for Anthony Delorso and the Arizona Wildcats came to an end, as you mentioned. They lost 91-73 to your Wolverines in the final four. But look, just a shout out to Delorso. Enjoyed a breakout year in 2026. He's a versatile plug and play guy. And the sky is the limit for him. So really, really good season for him to get to the Final Four. What a great experience. But more importantly, the UConn Huskies booked their spot, as you mentioned, with a 71-62 win over Illinois. And the Huskies' deep run into March Madness has provided a similar learning experience and developmental experience for the Tasmanian freshman, not related to John, Jacob Furphy. So really good opportunity for him to play with the big lights on. So to answer Anthony's question, Anthony Wallace, our friend's question, we do have an Australian playing in the championship game, so shout out to Furphy. And
probably the only problem for Jacob Furphy, Woods, he hasn't really been getting on, has he? You see if he gets on, it's 1 minute. I don't think he got in that semi-final game. So, look, unless this game's not close, it's probably likely he won't get on, but a great experience, and he's, 50% chance now of being another one of these Aussies to win an NCAA title there. So that's great to see. Shout out to COE. I know I go on about it too much, but I think I've commentated him at least 2 games, maybe even 3, and always been impressed with what he does there. He doesn't sort of stand out like your Johnny Furphys or some of these other guys at COE have had, but he does everything pretty well, and it's testament to him going to a big program like UConn and helping them. He'll be back next year and probably have a bigger role, I would have thought. So
just on that quickly, I'll just read a quick quote from Dan Hurley about him. He's tough and he's smart and he's got great size at the gut position, and the way he plays fits in perfectly, said Hurley. And to your point, Furphy's primary role maybe from the sidelines in the MWB championship game, but regardless, Australia will be on the Huskies come Tuesday, right? So,
Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting. So looking forward to that game. And before we get into our true false and wrap this up, Woods, got to say, very excited. First NBL One home game this week for the Hills Hornets. So playing Manly, I know you are coming out, so I'm going to
yeah.
hold you that coming up. But don't forget the Manly women's team, Woods, they're the NBL One East champions. So they're a great team. They're going to be a really big challenge for the Hills women there. And yeah, the men's team, I think you're going to like this Manly team, Woods. They've got a 7-foot Canadian guy on their team this year, making his debut, who had 23 rebounds in the first round. They've also got another American guy, a shooter, who's also looking pretty impressive as well. So they've pretty much got a new team. They got rid of Mason Bragg, got rid of Eldridge and a few other veterans there. But that's going to be fun. Looking forward to get behind the mic for a rare Friday night game. It's a standalone game. It's the only game in the NBL One East. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this one. Unfortunately, the East basically plays one round and then they have a break over Eastern, which is a little bit of momentum lost. I'm not sure why they do that. There is a lot of NBL One conferences around the country that do play over Easter there. But yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to see you out there. I'm sure the team will be
I'll be there.
Support as well and everything as well. So nice. Well, let's wrap it up with some true false there, Woods. I know you did a bit of a run sheet before you got sick a few weeks ago, so I stole a couple of your questions there. And I've added a few. But all right, so we'll start off. True or false? The NBL playoffs format and scheduling needs a total overhaul.
Scheduling, definitely, right? To be fair, though, this final series, they kind of put it on certain days where they would get good crowds. I get what they were doing. But in general, the FIBA break, we've talked about it previously. I would have a 5-game semi-final series and maybe start the season a little bit earlier so it doesn't fall over into like the 4th round of NRL or whatever we're in now, right? So all of that stuff,
No, I agree with all that. True, I agree as well. I don't like the FIBA break. Look, and again, they've got to get the timing right. There's NBL One conferences starting. I mean, you look at that Sydney Kings team. They're probably going to have about 4 guys that play NBL One. The teams are just going to be waiting for them. Had they have not made the playoffs, they would have already played an NBL One game. I'm talking guys like Hunter Goodrick, Kawat Noy. I'm not sure what Jalen Galloway's status is, but you're right. It does come up against the big football codes there, which is probably never a great thing. I think it's hard, isn't it? We talked about the scheduling there. There's a lot of things. You talk about Kudos Arena, for example. There's something going on at that place all the time. We know the Easter show's in the precinct at the moment, but there's been a lot of events and concerts and all those sort of things. So probably a little bit hard.
It was like bedlam yesterday, bro.
Oh, it would have been crazy, I imagine, right? I do think the finals just went a little bit too long there. We mentioned that first game.
19 days from the first and the last game.
Yeah, that's probably too long. I think, what was it, Wednesday, that game 4? Wouldn't it have been great if they could have played that Friday or Saturday afternoon? But look, you're right. It worked in terms of, crowd and those sort of things. I'm sure the TV ratings were good. So maybe that's something they can look into. And the FIBA break as well, Woods. What's the story with that? Like if that FIBA team, if they're committing to playing these, we call it probably the C grade team, don't they? Why can they still not have that and still play finals that weekend? Is there an actual rule that means?
Yeah, I think there is some sort of rule there. Yeah, there is some sort of rule.
So anyway, maybe we've got to factor that in next year. And like you said, maybe start a little bit earlier or do something to try and combat that. But all right. Second one, Montrezl Harrell will be back in the NBL next season.
I actually didn't read the true or false in the run sheet, but I'm going to say true. True. Like, I mean, can Will Weaver take a Montrezl Harrell and control his sort of personality in the locker room? Maybe, right?
It would be that sort of team if you went somewhere. It would be Brisbane. Yeah. I've got false, Woods, and I've got in my notes marketing versus culture, and I think culture wins out here. So I think it's one of those things. Yeah, he's going to sell you, season tickets. There's no doubt about it. He's going to get buzz around that state there. I just think when it terms of culture and getting that good fit of a player, maybe culture wins. So I'm going to say false, but yeah, it wouldn't shock. And that Brisbane were my sort of team as well. I thought if he did come, it might be.
And I don't know who the coach is going to be at Cairns, but just a coach that Wellesley couldn't really drag him in.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, Maluach will receive serious overseas offers after his great 2025 NBL season with Sydney.
Absolutely true. He's also an NBA prototype, man. This guy he's a 3-level scorer now. He can knock down the 3, probably not as well as Jalen Galloway, but he's a reliable corner 3-point shooter. Yep. He can get to the mid-range, and he's just an absolute supreme athlete that can defend multiple positions. Tell me what's not to like about a guy like that, right?
He's been huge this year. Look, I've got true. I've also put in there, I think he's going to need a pretty big pay rise, whatever happens here, right? Whether it's going overseas. The only other thing I talk about in terms of I guess, where he goes overseas. He's a little bit older than people think Woods. He turns 28 next month. So I was surprised when I saw that. I did get that one right, unlike the Christian Doolittle winning the Defensive Player of the Year. But yeah, turning 28 next month, so a little bit older than what you think, but look, still a pretty prime age there if he is going to take that next step. And you wonder whether he tries to chase that little bit of money that you can get perhaps in Europe or perhaps in China or Japan or something like that. But either way, look, what an amazing season for him. It's guys like him that I think really push Sydney all the way there.
Be crazy if he doesn't get a summer league look in as well, right?
Yeah, true. All right, my last true or false is probably one I'm going to get a little bit angry on, Woods. Goga Batasi.
Oh, Goga.
That clown should have been suspended. Sorry, I shouldn't preempt you with the answer there, but he should have been suspended for his cheap shot foul on Jock Landale that will now see Jock Landale miss a couple of weeks with an injured ankle. True or false?
Even though he injured his ankle, you got to remember that shot was taken on the neck above his head as he was up there trying to dunk a basketball down. He basically coat hanged him, right?
Yeah.
So the serious damage that can do when you're talking about back injuries, neck injuries, right? I find it crazy that he didn't get a suspension. What was the reasoning behind it?
I don't know. Honestly, Woods, I was watching that one live. I jumped up. I was like shadow boxing the TV and stuff. I was fuming when it happened, right? You're right. Like, Beef Stew can run on and do that little, fracas thing they had in that fight there, and he gets 6 games. How does Batasi not get 1 or 2 games, especially when the outcome was an injury? So, like I said, for those that saw it, it was basically a horse collar thing around the neck there. Due to the angle he sort of went down, Jock really badly, twisted his ankle there. And, they're saying a couple of weeks. This could actually be a little bit more than that, which is terrible timing. He's been really important for the Hawks. Shout out to Dyson Daniels. Woods, we saw a lot of the players run in. Dyson Daniels was the first guy that ran in and stuck up for his countrymen and basically pushed Batasi there. So, this is not a surprise from Orlando, a clown team, Woods. And sorry for anyone that goes for Orlando, but I've watched a lot of their games. They're just a bully team. They're grumpy because they're playing so bad and they're underperformed this year. They're a bunch of clowns, honestly. Desmond Bain, look at his highlight package this year. He's had about 4 or 5 just cheap, dirty antics that he's done this year. And I kind of liked Batasi before that. Can't stand the
Me too.
Now. So yeah, that was poor.
I like Goga before that.
Poor form there. So,
it's out of character for him. We haven't seen that,
Well, again, I think it's the frustration. The team's continuing to lose. The Hawks just owned Orlando this year as well. Just destroyed them every game or won every game in the series. So yeah, disappointing to see it, and probably disappointing the NBA didn't come down and give him 1 or 2 games because it's when you see Orlando's going to miss some crucial games, potentially a first round final series there. That's pretty disappointing. So all right, well, didn't want to finish on a negative there because it's been a pretty positive show, but yeah, you suck, Goga Batasi. You clown. All right, let's go to the outro there, Woods. So, look, as I mentioned at the start of the show, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're going to be followed on X. We'll continue to get these things up. Maybe we'll get this nice-looking Xavier Cooks. Maybe we'll do the combo, Woods. You can get the jersey up and we'll get the card up, and maybe the back of this Nor jersey with this amazing Alexander Walker.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Around the whole time. I'm not sure how many letters it is, but it's extremely long name. You've got the Gilgis Alexander.
Yeah, I do. That goes. That's the small letters.
Oh, that's
across the top. Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have the around.
Gilgis Alexander and Nickeil, Alexander Walker. I wonder who's got more digits there. I'll have to check it out. It's probably pretty similar. And look, as we mentioned every week, Woods, Patreon. Anyone that wants to pledge a little bit of support with us, we really appreciate it. Just got the Adobe thing for the podcast coming out today, so that's gone up another $5 a month. Is there anything in the world that's not going up in value at the moment, Woods, apart from our salaries? It's unbelievable at the moment. So, but yeah, anyone that wants to pledge a little bit of support, we'd appreciate that. I'm going to throw the floor to yourself, Woods. I know I said we were wrapping up the NBL. Give me some thoughts on this NBL season and how special this Sydney Kings Championship was for you and the fans.
Absolutely. And just to see Brian Gorgian, who means so much to the people of Sydney, he done this 20-plus years ago, right? And come full circle, get a bronze medal along the way. Really happy for him, man. And I think he might have one more good year at least left in him. And I'd be looking at the Kings to go back-to-back, man, especially if they can retain some of this core. So, yeah.
I'll have to chuck it in. Will they retain their accountant or what? He's done a very, very good job.
Wait till Olgun comes out with the actual facts, bro.
But that doesn't mean anything, though. We've seen that in other codes. But anyway, I'm not going to finish it. That was just a bit of a joke more than anything. But look, you're right. If they can retain most of that team and bring it back, why would they not? Not be the favourites there. They do have a tendency to not bring imports back multiple years. We've seen that over the time for them. And who knows what Kendrick Davis' status is, but who knows? Is Delhi definitely coming back?
He's on a 3-year deal.
So he's on a 3-year deal, right? That's interesting, right? And
guaranteed as well, because he wants to shot at go to the Olympics. That's why, right?
Interesting. So they probably will bring back. Maybe Bruce might be the only other one that you see. Sort of maybe
I think from what I'm hearing within the camp, they've given him a tap on the shoulder already and said this is it at Sydney. So yeah.
Okay. Well, Woods, we've got our end of season basketball night out on Thursday at my place. Friday night we've got NBL One, so looking forward to kicking with you there. And congratulations on your boys winning it. Congratulations to the Sydney Kings as the 2026 NBL champions. Can't wait to do it all again next week. We'll be back to our regular scheduled times and doing this weekly and talking a lot of NBA and whatever else happens. But yeah, it's a big peace out for the Throwback Hoops crew.
Peace out. Thanks everyone.